Hello, wrestling fans. We're back once again. Episode 34 of All Elite Zone AEZ. And thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate the support. And again, Adam, there's a chance it's just going to be us tonight, but that's okay. We have great conversations. And how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. Yeah, just letting everybody know. Connor will be trying to show up. We've been getting bad storms here in the south, so his internet's kind of gone in and out, as has the power here in town where I live. So hopefully Connor's able to join us tonight. But it's good to see you, man. I'm happy to be back this week.
That's great. And yeah, you know what? Like I mentioned before we started, we're going to hit with some of this weather that's coming in from the US, hitting southern Ontario. And I'm in Mississauga, just outside of Toronto. And we're starting to get those winds and some of that, the cold air is coming back in. We were lucky that we had a great Easter weekend here. The weather was actually very favorable and perfect for Easter. So I hope everyone had a chance to enjoy. And one of the things I actually found out, I didn't realize that most of our American friends don't actually get Good Friday off of work or Easter Monday, where here in Canada, most of us get Good Friday off, and Monday is just more of a school and bank and government a government day off. But that's okay. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take the day off, so it's great. But we follow through with the another week of AEW, and we're still following. I guess we're finished now, possibly this week coming up, the Canadian tour that they've been doing, and we had Dynamite that was live from Quebec City, and they moved over, and we can chat about some of the matches we liked about Dynamite, and what we thought about of Collision as well. And Collision had a great crowd in London, Ontario, which is a couple hours outside of Toronto. I thought there was a great crowd there. But if we'll start. I can't get enough of them, and I know you're the same. Will Ospreay. He's great. Kind of disappointed to hear if the size of the crowd they actually had at Quebec City, which I was kind of surprised. I thought that there's some great matches, and the one I would say it's a bright spot to start the show is Will Ospreay and Shibata. I don't know if I want to mess up his first name and disrespect him like that, but again, another solid. I thought it was a pretty solid match. You can't. I'm actually enjoying it a lot, and they're giving Shibata some good TV time in the last few weeks, actually more than I thought. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, no, I think this was a good start because the week before we had Danielson against Shibata. And obviously, this is building up towards the Ospreay Danielson match at Dynasty. So it's great that he wrestled Shibata last week, and then Ospreay comes in and wrestles him the following week. So I think this is a good follow TV match after he had his with Kyle Fletcher. I think this was another good solid opponent. A lot of people don't remember that Shibata was the pure champion in Ring of Honor. So Shibata is really technical in the ring. He's a really good technical wrestler. And so just to have him have the match against Ospreay to start off, I mean, you get the crowd hot right into it right out the back because you give Ospreay that opening match. And I think what they're doing now is I'd like to see them continue, if they're going to put Ospreay in on Dynamite, either have him open the match or at least cut a segment during the night. Just keep him on TV somehow. But I think what they're trying to do is also trying to move him as kind of the opening because he's such a big name in pro wrestling. And so they're trying to grab people, because maybe they saw, oh man, who's this Will Ospreay guy? And they opened the show with him. They're like, oh, it's him again. I'm kind of interested in him. So I was kind of thrilled, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed the match. It was a good technical match. I mean, between Shibata's kind of New Japan style. I mean, obviously he's got the New Japan hard style, the hard hitting style, and then Ospreay's got like the flying style. So it was a good mesh of two styles. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I did too, and I'll give it to one of the things I do appreciate that AEW does is for the viewers like me. I was always a big WWE fan, so you're really just seeing the product. You only saw kind of a wrestler every once in a while that was coming in from the indies, except for NXT. NXT was great for that for a while. Yeah, no, I really appreciate, because I love the connection that they have with like New Japan, for example. So when they go back and they show, hey, when these guys are fighting, this isn't the first time they fought. And I love when they kind of show these old matches, especially when these guys are young, and how many times they fought, right? So I love that they're trying to create like what the significance is, or kind of tell a bit of a story of like, what am I watching and why is it significant to me as a wrestling fan? Because again, I wouldn't necessarily be exposed to it unless I went and looked for it, which is easier now than it ever has been. If I want to go and watch New Japan or TNA, or any of the Lucha Underground, whatever it happens to be, I have access to it more than ever. It's just more of a time. So I love when they give these matches. I love kind of getting a glimpse into what these other superstars are like around the world. Because again, it actually opens up that really, it's like, as much as I think I know wrestling, I know I don't know wrestling, right? Like Adam, I know you've got some great wisdom, and you watch a lot of stuff, and you remember a lot of things, and there's a lot of interest. So you know a bit about everything, and kind of keep track. Where like I said, I was always a WWE guy, and then moving to AEW. So I love the exposure, and I love that where there's the connections, because that to me just shows a love for professional wrestling. That and you've made it okay that you have a title, just a kind of jump, just a jump to the Adam Copeland open Copeland challenge. Is that what it is? He calls it the Copeland challenge?
The Cope Open.
The Cope Open.
The Cope Open, yeah.
Which is great. From Collision, all of a sudden, I would have never thought that it would have been Matt Cardona that would come down to answer the call, which I thought was great. But it's also okay. Like I assumed there was going to be one of the guys in the back. But I realized, again, there's such significance there, which is great. And I actually liked, if you watch Edge does a great job of pretending like he had no idea that it was actually going to be Matt Cardona, which would actually been really cool if he didn't know. I mean, if he was going to just pick anybody, just bring him out, that would actually be really cool. But again, the significance of, I guess, Cardona training with Adam Copeland. And it's amazing now when you watch someone like Matt Cardona, what he's done, and there's not many guys or girls that can leave WWE and actually create a better character. Again, I'll say Cody Rhodes was amazing at that, to leave, create the character, be the person he's supposed to be, really build themselves up. So when they actually return into the spotlights or the bigger organizations like an AEW or WWE, they've done it. It's almost like themselves. They've done it. They're not a character. You know what I mean? It just feels a lot more genuine. They found themselves, and this is who they're comfortable being. And I think Matt Cardona is a perfect example of that. Obviously, he's got, like, whoever thought that Zack Ryder would be like the king of the death match. Like that just seemed complete, like it never even, you can't even say those things in the same sentence, but it's true. And we're seeing it. And what I really loved about this, and this collision was in London, Ontario. Again, great crowd, a crowd that was ready for this and appreciated this, and they were in it from the get-go. I love it. And I love it. And I think that, and I'm a big one for crowds. We talked about it last week. I mean, Adam, how did you feel about when you saw Matt Cardona come down to answer the call?
It had been 4 years since Cardona has stepped in the AEW ring. And him coming back, I think, was the right time. Word going around was that came together fairly quickly because he was at a convention. I think it was called Exposed Square Circle or something like that. It was like their convention. He was supposed to have a match. He had lost the title, one of his titles, to Nick Nemeth. And he was supposed to defend the next night, which was Saturday. He had lost it Friday in an impromptu match to Nick Nemeth. He was supposed to come back Saturday for the convention and to defend the same title against, I believe it's Dragon Lee or someone like that, and one of those guys. But it came together so quickly that he left because they booked this match with Adam Copeland. And so the website for this convention put out, said, a little weird story of, because of his upsetness of losing his title, he left. Like, that's how they booked Matt Cardona not coming back to do this convention, was because he's a little crybaby. He took his ball and went home because he lost his title. Because that's just how good they are about not spoiling that he was going to be on Collision. which was great. I think it was smart on the convention's part, not saying he has a new commitment to AEW because that would have ruined the surprise. So the fact that they didn't mention him going to AEW and just said, he took his ball and went home because he was upset he lost his title. That's just conventions also showing the crowd, hey, we're in this too. We're involved in these stories too. And yeah, I think him showing up was so cool. And the look on Edge's face when he showed up, it was beautiful because this was a match that Cardona really wanted for a long time after him and Myers were lost when they were doing their tag team. And so they actually pitched the idea to Edge back in WWE to be his edge heads. And
Really?
it ran. Yeah, they ran with it. Him and Brian Myers brought it to Adam Copeland. Copeland says, I love it. And so they became part of that La Familia with him, Vicky Guerrero, Big Show, Chavo. And so I thought it was genius. And just to see these two guys now go in the ring, and if you noticed, yeah, they do train. He did get trained under Edge, and like he used some of Edge's move. Like he used the Edge DDT, and heck, even when he was trying to do the woo in the corner, and then he did like that, he's like, I ain't doing that crap, And so I thought it was really cool. But I mean, the great thing about that is the storytelling after the match with House of Black showing up and the way the crowd reacted to seeing Malachi and Edge in the same ring. Because I don't think they actually crossed paths in WWE. Malachi had actually left before Edge had come back from injury. Because Edge didn't come back till 2020, and I think Malachi left in 2019. So they had never crossed paths in WWE. So just to see them in that ring together was just so surreal. And now we get this whole awesome setup to Dynasty of a 6-man tag with Copeland, Jay Briscoe, and Eddie Kingston against the House of Black. So I'm glad they're getting House of Black together as a trios again, because I miss seeing them as a trios. I mean, the whole storytelling, that whole opening segment of that collision, that's what drew me. I was like, this is awesome. Now we've got some storytelling to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just the thought, I'm like, oh, okay. I think people got that excitement, almost like, ooh, is this the next little rivalry? Could we see like Malachi going for the TNT title versus Adam Copeland? I mean, I think that got everyone a little excited. Yes, I mean, I love House of Black. The trios. So I think that's going to be a good match. I'm going to be interesting. So is the Ring of Honor that heavyweight championship match or between Eddie Kingston and the Briscoe?
Jay Briscoe, yeah.
When is that? Is that before?
It's actually this weekend. So okay. Yeah, so the Ring of Honor pay-per-view is actually this weekend. A lot of shows happen the same weekend as WrestleMania. WrestleMania weekend is huge for all pro wrestling, not just WWE, because Ring of Honor has something. I believe a lot of smaller promotions put on their like smaller like kind of premiere shows for WrestleMania weekend. So so that title match does happen, and I kind of actually like Ethan's comment here about Edge versus Malachi for the TNT title, and this kind of goes back to what I was mentioning about Edge losing his mind if he loses the TNT title to someone, and it's kind of reminiscent of how he started the Judgment Day, and it kind of goes to Edge goes heel and actually joins House of Black, almost like how Judgment Day, because people start comparing the two factions. Although I do like House of Black because they technically did come first. Sorry, but the idea of it is so cool because then you can have that reuniting with Christian and have Edge and Christian one more time after Edge joins that dark side again to be heel and does that run with Christian. Or like I said, maybe Edge falls too deep and the only person to come help him is Christian and Christian turns face. But there's so many ways you can go with that.
Yeah. It's interesting too with AEW has become great for having guys that teeter, between heel and babyface. I mean, you have like we know Adam Copeland can do it because he can be a badass and fucking whack you on the chair and give you the concerto and then still be a face. Then you have Samoa Joe that could demolish you and do heel moves and still be a fan favorite. And Swerve has been on that edge. He is obviously, you can see he's been turning a little more on the face side, but again, you have him. He can still do the heel stuff, which I think that wrestlers must love doing because I know traditionally it's like, hey, if you're face, there's certain things you just can't do anymore, right? There's certain moves you don't do anymore, certain things you can't say, and vice versa. So if you go heel, you don't do as much certain moves. I remember example of that was when Owen Hart. Owen Hart was always a high flyer, especially the Blue Blazer. And then they said, okay, you're going heel. You can't do those fancy high flying moves that are really impressive to get a fan reaction. Almost like as if it's too pretty, they're too face. I was kind of interested, saying, oh, okay. So he has to be mean or just more like the grappling style, more, just like, the beat down style as opposed to being the flashiness. But I don't think that's not necessarily true anymore. People still just appreciate. I mean, I do find the high flyers do tend to be more on the face side. But people just appreciate and love professional wrestling and appreciate just talent, right? So, like a Will Ospreay, for example, he's the same. Like these guys it's like this Newman Pac. He's a classic. Everyone loves the guy, but he is just a mean bastard, right? I would love. So, do you see? Again, I know I'm segueing here. With Pac, I would love to see him, and I think he could be a good fit. And maybe I'm wrong because he's trying to be Pac and he's kind of the bastard. I know he's already part of Death Triangle, which never really comes to fruition because someone's always hurt. But I always think, for me, I feel like he fits. Like if the BCC took him in and he was part, because he would actually be English. So I don't know exactly where he's from. He's from Manchester, I believe.
I believe so. Yes.
So I get it. So it's a little bit different, but at least you'd have a UK guy in a group, right? Named after, UK. Or I think he would actually be a good fit for the House of Black, the way he is, right? He's got that look, but I don't know if that's it. It's not his style because he's such an individual guy and he's just more of a rogue, right? As if he's not with Death Triangle, he's very rogue. Or he doesn't get along like he does. He's not friendly with anybody, right? Or friends, and we've seen that in some of these tag matches. Or like, remember he was involved in like a War Games, remember? And then he ended up, fighting with Castagnoli. So, but again, he's another guy. I mean, you can go down the list. There's so many guys that I think that teeter on the line between face and heel. Again, I think, but that's just where wrestling is going today. Kind of like how the Attitude Era was, right? People love the badass. There's nothing like that. Stone Cold's got over, The Rock got over, Triple H got over. Anybody that was super heel got over. Like they loved it, right? So I don't know if we're kind of getting into that. I didn't see that. With a comment there, if you
I was honoring, I was highlighting Corin's about agreeing with Ethan about Malachi and Edge, but to go off what you were saying with Pac, they actually did have a story of where House of Black was trying to recruit Pac at one point, because remember they had blinded him with the black mist and he was wearing that eye thing. He came back and he was like blind or something, but he was wrestling blind, but then he took it off and he was healed. And so, they did try that, but I do like Pac on his own. I think he does so much better on his own than with a group, just because of his aura. Like he's supposed to be the bastard. Like he's supposed to be no one's friend. You know what I mean? Like that's, I mean, if you look into the history of what a bastard child is, it's someone that was out of wedlock that wasn't wanted, so if he's going on that character, I honestly think he should be a lone wolf. He's done, like you said, he's done it with Death Triangle, but someone's always hurt, so you really can't do anything. And then, you put him with the Blackpool Combat Club, and I'm like, a good idea, but he's got feuds with some people there. And then you put him House of Black, they already tried that. So him staying solo just works. And to mention what Davis is saying in the comments here, they are kind of building that talk of Pac versus Okada, because that would be a great match for the Continental Championship. I can see that happening at Double or Nothing, because that would be the next pay-per-view after Dynasty. So seeing that at like Double or Nothing to kind of build up to that would be perfect, because I think the card right now for Dynasty is kind of stacked. I'm sure they're going to add one or two before it because it's in about 2 weeks. So I think they'll add one or two more matches, maybe the women's world title match as well, because they've got the TBS title, but I think they'll add the women's world title match and maybe another like trios, maybe the trios titles match between the Acclaimed and Bullet Club Gold. So, I mean, they may add those. But I just like Pac on its own. And I don't know why. I just think he works better as a solo.
Yeah, no, he does. He does do really well, and right, his character does fit a bit of that loner persona. I think would be a great triple threat match for that title. I think. I mean, again, guys in the comments who are watching, if you want to comment, if I still think Adam Copeland versus Malachi versus Pac would be an awesome match for the TNT title. You would see so many freaking kicks. You would see so many hits. And I think that'd be a great match, personally. I mean, you know what? Right now, I mean, it's, again, I kind of put it in my handle there. It's where the best come to wrestle. I think that's what with Tony Schiavone, which, again, I can't help feel it's like the modern day version of where the big boys come to play. Right?
Yeah.
Especially when Tony Schiavone says it. These guys, I think they're stacked. I do really like the direction, some of this talent that's coming in. I got to. I don't know how you feel about this one, Adam. Or I'm already kind of tired of Mercedes, and she hasn't even really got started. I don't really know if I like this character. To me, this is going very heel. You usually don't have faces that are this self-absorbed, glamorous, looking the way that, having a bit of attitude. So I think my opinion is they're slowly having her go towards a heel. They had to bring her into face because they knew the pop was going to be insane. People waiting for return. So it's tough to bring a person in, just like Will Ospreay. They knew they were going to come in with a massive match of, thanks, Corinna. I'm glad you agree. You can't not. How you not agree with and say no? I'm sure 1,000 people have actually probably thought of that match as well and thought, okay, it's been great. But again, that's just the talent that's there. I don't know what you guys think. I'm kind of bored of it. I was never really a big Mercedes fan to begin with the whole Sasha Banks character. I get there's talent. I get what she did. I don't know. I have this feeling it's going to be overused. I don't know, Adam. What do you think with the direction you're thinking?
So here's the thing, and she hasn't had a match yet. I think that's just them protecting her to feel it when she feels 100. Like, I know doesn't have the walking boot on and anything like that. And she's taking small amounts of bumps in the ring and everything like that. So I think they're kind of still slowly building her up. But yeah, I loved her debut. Don't get me wrong. I love the character because she switches from, I know most people will say, oh, it's just the boss character, just more emphasized, but it's her character. In WWE, they're kind of tight knit in what they can do. Back when she was there, I mean, they might have let loose a little bit more based on what you're seeing with the product in WWE now being run by a different company and Dwayne Johnson on the board and Triple H in charge of creative. So there's a little more openness, but still tight knit to what they want to do as creative and what they can do for the product. But in AEW, like Mercedes, that's Mercedes, and that's her real name. Her real name is Mercedes. People are like Sasha Banks. It's like, no, her real name is Mercedes. So just want you to know that.
It's a good first name. It's a good wrestling name.
No, and it's a good name. So her using that as a wrestling name, just changing the last name, is just great. I mean, Matt Cardona, that's his real name, and he uses it on as a wrestling name just because that's who he is. So I think right now they're building her up. You know, I still feel by my prediction that Willow is going to win the TBS title at Dynasty. And that's going to continue her feud with Mercedes over the TBS title, which is what I feel it should be. Because it's good that they put the TBS title on someone like Mercedes. Mercedes is still a big name in the industry. You know, I mean, nothing against Julia Hart or Willow Nightingale, but you put that TBS title on someone like Mercedes,
Mm-hmm.
she'll elevate that title not only for the division and that group, but also for your product, because now you've got a valuable name there that people know through the industry. You know, that's kind of saying like, oh, Jade Cargill's over in WWE. That's going to bring more eyes to WWE because there's this new person who's a big name over in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, someone like Matt Cardona. They're like, oh, Matt Cardona, he's huge on the indies. That was Zack Ryder. Now he's doing all this stuff. So that's going to put eyes on your product. So putting the title on her is probably a good idea with the TBS title. But yeah, no, I'm still waiting. The debut was cool. Just nothing else. She's just been doing commentary. She's popped up now and then. She's involved in that TBS title picture. I mean, Wednesday, that four-way was not bad. And that's what I want to talk about. Is that four-way for the number one contendership was not bad. I mean, all four ladies, including Anna Jay. I mean, all four of them put on a hell of a match,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I did kind of call it too about, oh well, Willow's going to win that. I think Willow's going to win the title, and then Willow and Mercedes are going to revisit their feud from New Japan. So I don't see anything past that. I think she's been doing all right on commentary. She has to be seen. She has to be heard. So many people are not going to be happy that she hasn't had a match yet. But look back when Saraya debuted. She didn't have a match until she wrestled Britt on the pay-per-view. That was her first match back. She never had a TV match. So I feel like you could do the same thing with Mercedes, which is fine. You could kind of put her there because you don't want to put her back in the ring if you feel like she's going to hurt herself again. Give her that time to 100% heal, because I guarantee you she's not 100%, even though she's walking around just doing stuff. Guarantee you that ankle is not 100%. I bet you she's got it double taped, everything like that. So, I mean, right now, that's just my thoughts. I think they're saving her for a big match on a pay-per-view. They're going to have her keep cutting promos, keep fighting people either in the ring or backstage. I don't think they'll have her first match on TV. They'll have her first match probably in Double or Nothing at Vegas. I mean,
No, is she fighting at Dynasty, or she's not cleared to wrestle at Dynasty?
No, she has not been booked for a match at Dynasty. And most likely she'll probably do what she did Wednesday and be commentary on the Julia Hart Willow Nightingale match, TBS title at Dynasty. That's my thought.
I have how about this for a prediction, and see if this makes any sense. What if, say, Willow wins the title, Stokely Hathaway, he's still behind these girls. They're just too good. They're not, they're not just going the way Stokely usually goes. And then we see Mercedes and Willow in a match, and we see Stokely help Mercedes beat Willow and turns over to manage and be like the manager for Mercedes and be like more the mouthpiece or the associate, because she's a CEO. So he could be, you're putting that, she needs to have people in place. If you're going to be a CEO, right now she's a CEO of nothing. So are you going to put her with something that she'd be a CEO of, right? So could be like an associate to take care of her business, just kind of like how he was with Jade Cargill. And I thought that made sense at the time as well. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's it could be a possibility if they're going to turn? And I feel that she is going to turn heel, and you put Stokely, and he's kind of in this like, he's heel by nature, right? And then he's the kind of guy that wants to align himself with a winner and someone who's going to do like that lie, steal, and cheat, right? So I think that'd be and that would make with the story, because again, right now he's with Statlander and with Willow. So it makes sense for that kind of storyline where he's been a little frustrated, like, yeah, you're not cheating to win. You got to do whatever you can. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going with a winner, and boom, and then turns his back on Willow and Statlander. That keeps Willow and Statlander as faces, because I know we've talked about last week about the potential, like, hey, what do we think? Do we think the girls that would change, that they would go heel? But doing something like that would make them stay end up being like super faces still, right? And I think that if they stay together, that'd be good for the tag team tournament, which I still think is going to happen to crown new champions at some point. But I don't know. What do you think? Is that could you see that as at all a possibility?
I kind
I
of see
agree,
it.
Josh.
Yeah, and I kind of see it. I see it as, what if this? What if they don't wait till Double or Nothing? What if the following Wednesday? And this is kind of suck to say because don't want to see it as a quick transitional turn. But what if the following Wednesday after Dynasty, Mercedes comes out to talk to Willow and says, "Hey, guess what? Next Wednesday, I'm challenging you for the TBS title because you took my New Japan Strong Woman title. So I want what's mine, blah, blah, blah." And you got that little tension between her, Chris in the ring, and Stokely in the ring. And he's just in the back and he's like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't say a word. And he doesn't even come to the defense of Willow saying, no, it's too soon for her. She's got to rest. He just stands there. He introduces her as the new champion, blah, blah, blah. But then, Mercedes comes out and she's like, I want my match and I want it next week. And yeah, it's the following week. We follow your scenario where Stokely, both wrestlers down, the referees down, and as Willow and as Chris is, tending to Willow being hurt from tired and match, Stokely slides the chain to Mercedes, and Mercedes uses it on Willow. Chris is stunned. Willow is stunned. Mercedes wins the title, and she walks out with Stokely, and they both look at Stokely like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then you cut that promo, following up promo, where Stokely speaks first. He goes, this is my CEO. This is someone I wanna be working with. They know how to make the money, blah, 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 and then she can talk. Yeah. They could both talk. It's like that Swerve Prince Nana dynamic that we have. Where Nana does.
Jade,
yeah.
Even when she was with Jade spoke too.
Even when Jade spoke, yeah, and he did that. Yeah. So that was actually Mark Sterling too. That spoke for Jade a lot too. I
liked him.
I liked him too. I don't know what happened to him. I miss him right now. I don't see him much anymore. I don't know what happened to him, but I like him. But so that's a scenario I see.
Yeah. I actually think, kind of to your point, like, so just if they were in the ring that week where they're like, I'm challenging for next week, and Stokely pops up and goes, absolutely, she'll be there. She'll defend against you. And she's like, what, already? Because that's even pushing it on like a tired, yeah. And then boom, and then he's on their side because he wants her to win, so because he's going to go. So he's pushing for that match. Oh, man. Can you imagine? Okay, so we've said it here first.
Our predictions are here first.
Yeah, no, actually, to me, I actually like that. I think that direction makes sense. I like Stokely. I think he's a good mouthpiece. I think he's a good manager. I'm huge on managers. I believe you are too, Adam, and the benefit of it, and how they're there and they can really help enhance talent. Guys in the comments, whoever's watching, what do you think about managers today? Do you think do you love managers? Do you think managers should have a bigger role? Are we going to see, are we going to start seeing more and more of it? I get it that they're not even necessarily using the term manager. It's more like advocate, associate. But I would love to go back, and I think managers, and you know what, if when you've got guys like Jericho who are going to be retiring from the ring, and we kind of got a glimpse of it because last week I said, what if he, remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So I said, hey, I think his proposition is going to be like, I'd be your manager. It wasn't quite that. He did say, I could give you some advice, right? Yeah. Which that sounds you're getting towards like, okay. And he's like, of course, you're Chris Jericho, right? It's just kind of solidifying that the importance and the knowledge. He can go back as the wizard. Right?
Oh, the wizard.
Right. So I just think as some of these guys that are going to be retiring from the ring action, like a Jericho, for example, that you're going to see these guys come back. Like, I think Jake the Snake, I think it's perfect that he's still around. He got signed for another year. Right. So I think there's definitely a place for it. And I think they've always enhanced talent. Bobby Heenan was the best. I mean, you could not even say a word and you're over just because you're with Bobby Heenan. or even a Jimmy Hart, right? So I don't know. What do you think? Your thoughts, Adam?
So my thought on this, I think with managers, I think they play the perfect. There's some that can play the perfect mouthpiece, and then there are the ones that just play the perfect spoiler to the face. Especially the heel managers. You know, you get a lot of the heel. You rarely see face managers. Rarely see it in professional wrestling. But with the heel managers, you get a lot of the ones that are very good talkers for their groups, like a Jimmy Hart, like Bobby the Brain Heenan. You know, they're very good talkers. But then you get the ones that are just heelish, like the Jim Cornettes and the Brotherly Love, the ones that can just interfere in a match and kind of just
Paul
make
Heyman.
the Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
But Paul Heyman's a combination of both. Paul Heyman can talk and be the outside interference if need be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you get a good collected group of that. But as far as what you get them now, you don't really see much of that anymore. I mean, other than a few examples, Prince Nana, getting beat up all the time in Swerve Strickland's like matches. I still can't believe the Texas Death Match that he had with Swerve, and he put Prince Nana through the table with the dead eye. I'm like, good Lord, Prince Nana. So, I mean, but the thing with the manager is you got to pair the manager up right with the right person. I think that's how it works. That was so the nice thing about Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was paired up with a lot of people. He had a lot of people he managed, and it was great. He was able to work each one. He was able to word and promote each person for their matches, And so, I mean, look at something like a WrestleMania 3. He had 3 people, at least a bunch of people that he managed that night. He was involved in 3 matches that night as a manager. So, I mean, that alone is incredible for someone who can do, but you don't really see that much. AEW's got some, we were just talking about him, Mark Sterling. I mean, we haven't seen him, and he's managed a bunch of people in AEW.
Yeah.
He had managed, who was it? It was Tony Nese, and Tony Nese. And then he managed Jade, and then he managed
who's the guy?
a couple of other
the partner with Tony Nese.
That's I keep forgetting his name. It was like the Beast something. I keep forgetting his name. Mark, not Mark or something. It was something like that. I'll probably remember it in a while. But he was So, but someone like that where you don't see much anymore. So, and then in AEW, you don't see a lot of managers other than a Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is basically the go. I mean, MVP's not even doing a lot of managing over there. We haven't seen him.
No, he's not. He's not even. Is he even part of WWE anymore?
He is, but he just hasn't been on TV. I don't think they have anything creative for him.
Mm. Yeah, I guess the best example, or one of the best examples, are the modern time when you're pairing. I feel like managers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, I love manager. Yeah, Josh, I totally agree. And I think what's going to happen, like I was going to kind of mentioning it, as this generation of wrestlers starts to kind of wear down their careers. Like I think Christian could be a perfect manager, the way he is, especially if he kind of keeps that patriarchal kind of character. I think that totally works. Again, you've got a Jericho that seems like he's going to be potentially kind of going down that road as well. You could have even like a Bryan Danielson down the road be kind of more like a manager or coaching kind of guy. So again, there's a lot of guys who are great on the mic, who are very talented, that I don't see necessarily going to waste. Or people still like to hear them. People still like their promos. So there'll be good mouthpieces. But I'd say one of the best modern day, duo had to be Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar. I love that. I thought that was perfect. I mean, Brock came out and Brock could talk, but it was different when you've got Paul Heyman as your mouthpiece, man. Like I think that was a perfect. He's just a beast, and he didn't have to say a word, right? And that's the beauty of a Paul Heyman. You cannot say a word, and you're still over because of what your manager is saying, and all you have to do is just kick ass.
Yeah, no, to answer Davis, yes, we are talking about Tony Khan, but yes, that is an episode on the modern day manager is actually going to be is a topic that I have actually come up with that I want to talk about. It's actually the next one of the next 3 episodes we're gonna basically talk about. So, but yeah, no, I totally agree, Matt, on all that. And yes, and thank you for reminding us they have Callus as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I think someone like a Paul Heyman, like you got to get something because that a guy will eventually retire, and like you said, with the wrestlers getting up there and trying to be like the leader role or the manager role, like you said,
mm,
like a Chris Jericho, and that's what I feel like they're doing with him and Hook. Maybe he can lead into a manager role because I don't know how much more time Chris is going to be in the ring. I mean, obviously, we just saw Sting retire. I mean, obviously, Chris wants to retire because he's got a lot going on. But yes, no, I totally agree with some of these wrestlers that retire fit so well into a manager role that I
mhm.
feel they can do it. Like you said, like a Christian, like a Chris Jericho, like heck, even someone like a Bryan Danielson. I would love to see him be a mentor or manager cheering someone on at ringside. So I totally can see, some of these wrestlers, especially in AEW, just become managers.
I 100% agree. And there's a reason why. I mean, Jake the Snake just got re-signed for another year. So he just got a new contract. So
Mhm.
again, so that means there's investment in another year of having him. They're not, be a complete waste. I would love to see Jake actually be on more, maybe even having another guy. I know kind of the role of managers now seem to be just kind of paired up with one guy, where we're not seeing, except for the Don Callis family, which I love. And that's like, it's like the modern day Heenan family, right? I love that. I love how there's. I mean, I'm a huge supporter of factions. I love factions.
Mhm.
I love managers. I think it completely adds a completely different dynamic to an individual. Be part of a group, a different attitude. You can create different feuds with it, different promos all the time. So I think Callis is great for a Hobbs, for example, and Takeshita. I think he's great. And I guess we're going to see next week again, as we talk about factions in the Don Callis family. Will Ospreay is going to be going up against a Hobbs, right?
Yeah.
So, which is interesting. So this will be what, the third member of the Don Callis family.
The third member, pretty much. I mean, how many more can we add to Don Callis's family?
Hmm.
So,
Josh just brought up. What do you think of a Wardlow, like a Paul Heyman, paired up with a Wardlow?
I see they need someone like that. I think Wardlow needs a manager that can talk. Someone that can, not just someone that's like an Adam Cole who's just like
Yeah.
still a wrestler, is like hyping the guy up. Like, I'm sorry, it just sucks. They're like, well, now your job is to make sure we don't lose gold and all that. It's like,
Right.
dude, you don't know what you're doing. This is basically Pinnacle 2.0. That's basically what this is now. So, but yeah, no, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd like to see again. So yeah, so I'll be interested to see your episode on the modern day manager, and see what did there. But yeah, I love it. What did you there was one match. I just wanted to get your comment. Or they had those best friends versus the Undisputed Kingdom, which I believe is at the second round or the quarterfinals in the tournament.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Honestly thought Kingdom probably should have used that win, just based on their story, because now that sets up. But then again, you kind of do see it would be the Kingdom versus the Young Bucks would be a heel team versus a heel team, and
mhm.
obviously you want to keep heel team versus face and face versus heel. Although I don't know, because in the other side of the bracket, I believe you have FTR against. I can't think of who the other team is that FTR is. Right? I
Oh,
don't even. Oh, Private Party.
private.
I think it's Private Party, right? Are they the ones
No,
that beat Starks and?
Because Private Party
You're
lost
right. So it
to the
was
Bucks.
whoever beat Big Bill and
So it's Top Flight.
Top Flight. Thank you. So it's two face teams. So it's two
But
face teams and then a heel and a face.
but did you, because again,
So
if you went back to watch that match, was Top Flight really supposed to win, or was there an
no,
audible called, and Ricky Starks actually was potentially hurt, and they called an audible in the ring?
it's kind of similar to what happened with John Moxley and Phoenix. when an audible was called in the ring, because you can see
It was awkward.
Martin yell at the ref, count, 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 like this is the audible, like something's wrong, you know. But yeah, no, I know Starks and Bill were supposed to win because they were coming back full circle after losing the titles. And so having them against FTR, and then you have Young Bucks versus, Best Friends. I mean, that would have been perfect for me. But, this, because the audible was called, now you kind of see where they're going with this. They may be going FTR Young Bucks 3 or
That's
4. I keep forgetting how many it is now. I think it's 4. I don't know. I've lost count because they've wrestled each other so many times. So they be going that route. And obviously, this is just a build for the Young Bucks to win the title so that them and Okada can have titles and be, the elite again and have titles, But then that brings back a great idea of Kenny coming back, and feuding with them over it, and, try to see who he teams with to go against this new formation of, the elite. But yes, to go back to your question about the tag match with Best Friends and Undisputed Kingdom, I do feel that could have been a good win for Undisputed, especially where their story's going, because they've kind of lost a little bit of momentum with that. But also the idea of the Young Bucks against Orange Cassidy and Trent, because you kind of saw more of an aggressive side from Orange Cassidy in that tag match. Like, he didn't do a lot of silly stuff. He was wrestling and he was fighting. Yeah. Like, he barely did it. Even when he did the O kicks, he was doing them hard. He didn't even in the corner. He was laying on them. So this may be leading to maybe a character change for Orange Cassidy, which crazy to think because people still love Orange Cassidy, but maybe you get more an aggressive side of him that gets the crowd wild up. I mean, you saw it kind of tweaked a little bit when he lost the title and he's like in the ring cutting that promo. So it's like where he's like, I'm Orange Cassidy and I don't have a catchphrase. Like, but he shot that entire promo. Like, he did that entire promo and saying, like, I'm not the biggest guy and all this stuff. I don't talk a lot, but I want to spill some hearts out to you guys. Like, that was perfect. So, but the idea of them beating FTR, or not FTR, the Young Bucks, yeah, no, this is just an idea of maybe getting Orange Cassidy to maybe go solo and kind of break away from Best Friends and kind of do his own thing. Whether, I don't think it would be full heel, but it'd be one of those like anti-hero kind of guys.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm glad because again, Trent, as we've noticed, he's become a lot more aggressive in the last couple of months, which is great because again, and he's getting some love, and he's in these tournaments, and he's had some good singles matches and a couple of chances at a title, just in a title picture. So I like how they kept. I'm glad there was no like this silly stuff, and he just goes hard. I think it's time to show that side of him, and I'm fine with it. Actually, welcome. But the Kingdom, I mean, they're still the Ring of Honor champions, tag champions, right? Yes. So even though they lost, they're still champions for Ring of Honor, right? They still already have gold, that they already have as part of the Undisputed, elite. So they're at least they have belts there still. I definitely agree. I think this is definitely leading up to the Bucks winning the belts. I think a great match would be FTR versus the Bucks. Again, they're always entertaining matches, and I don't think anyone would think it was strange that FTR was in the finals because again, they're still one of the top. They're still top guys, as they let us know on the back of their trunks. But when I went back and I was watching some of the promos with Big Bill there and Ricky Starks, and they were all like, "We are guaranteeing this and we're guaranteeing that," and he was so cocky in the match. It was a little fitting that they lost because they were being overtly cocky. You saw it and he purposely when I get it if he actually was hurt because there was some weirdness in there, so maybe it was, but it did, even if they were doing all the extra cocky stuff, and Ricky Starks was kind of like laying on the ropes and he's like, talking and right into the camera, being showing very, very confident and guaranteeing a win that again they lose, right? So they kind of built it up. So I was shocked. If it wasn't planned, they certainly convinced a lot of people that something would happen, and something went wrong, and they called it audible. That'd be very interesting if people like that, if it came out that no, it was actually planned that way. That'd be very interesting. But
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens. But again, I agree with you. I believe that the Bucks will end up being the champions. And I guess I know we're going to be coming to close to the hour, but I wanted to bring it up and we can talk about Takeshita and Swerve. I thought this was a great number one contenders match, and I love that they're bringing back the ranking system. I think has so much meaning to it. I think it's great to build stories. You can actually build stories without having prior stories, right? Like you can bring these two guys together, and all of a sudden there's a story because they're both have identical records. They're both going for number one contendership, right? So they created a story right there just from the ranking system, right? So how what it means to win this match. Again, another example of these kind of like really good quality international type matches that they're bringing to Dynamite, and Collision and just AEW in general. I'm sure these guys must feel like I'm actually having some of these dream matches with guys I never thought I'd ever have, but they're getting those opportunity, and I don't think they're not missing the mark. I'm enjoying them. You can tell the guys are appreciative and they're enjoying working with talent like this. But again, I don't think it was any stretch of the imagination that Swerve was going to win this one, and I think this was an absolute needed match. He needed this one. I think it was set up to be an impressive win, just like that. I thought it was the when Wardlow was fighting Samoa Joe for the title at Big Business, I think it was. Again, that was set up for a good win for Joe, right? He needed that win to show that, being the champion. And I definitely thought that Swerve really needed this match as well to show his level of where, if, again, to show that like, oh man, could he take the title, right? So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this match and, these type of feuds and, having Takeshita and Strickland together for the first time, I think.
Yeah, no, you know what, I enjoyed the match. I love all the near finishes, all the close calls. I love the double stomp on the apron. That's always a fun thing to watch. But yeah, the ranking systems, I know a lot of people complain about them. They're like, well, they're not using it to the T. But the fact that every time Samoa Joe comes out says, dude, I'm not defending against just you. You've got to earn the right by climbing the rankings. He's reminding people that the rankings are there. And even though there's that locality in it of, well, I already beat you at Revolution. Technically, no, you tapped out Page. You never pinned Swerve. You never tapped him. He was just involved in the match. He just was never pinned or submitted. So there is that technicality of Samoa Joe actually didn't beat Swerve. So that's why that story continues of Swerve still earned his right for this title. So I think that the Kesha and Swerve match was so good. Very entertaining. I do like the styles. Hi, that's my lady. So I think the styles mashed really well in the match. I was very happy Swerve won, and as much as I love Joe having the title and he's done so much with it, I do think right now is the right time to pull the trigger on Swerve winning it. Then maybe, I know they're talking about it, maybe reigniting that feud with Paige, but there's so many stories you can go with on Swerve against whoever. I mean, there's so many people he can defend that title back, against, and so, but I think right now when the fire's hot, let Swerve take it. And, this also, you can include Samoa Joe getting a rematch, and then you can involve Adam Cole. And then, I mean, think of this way, you bring back MJF when he's healed, you get all four of these men feud, and then you get Hangman Page involved, and now you got 5 people involved in the world title. It's not just 2 or 3 people. It's a big story of a lot of people. I mean, that have a lot of stories that go into this world title. I mean, MJF just had one of the longest title reigns in AEW history. It come to an end to Samoa Joe, who Samoa Joe signed away to to Adam Cole, and now he's doing with Swerve, and now Swerve's feuding with Hangman Page. So it all kind of combines into one. You're like, holy cow, this is crazy story. Like, and I think right now, like I said, I think the styles between Takesha and Swerve were so fun to watch on that match, and I'm glad Swerve got the win. And it would have been cool to see like Takesha like shake Swerve's hand, like still be part of a heel, but also be like, "All right, you beat me, I respect you," and then walk away.
Mm.
So I kind of thoroughly enjoyed that match.
Yeah, you know what? I think is I'm actually just kind of getting into Joe and his character as the champion. I like what he's doing. I think he's great on the mic. I love him coming down in his suits. I liked a little bit the swagger, and he's got a little bit of corporate in the way he's got the belt, and he's a badass. It almost feels kind of a shame if they do take it off too soon. I get why. I get like there's just so much talent in AEW. Like you could, like you said, you could rhyme off 6 guys like that. Boom, 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 boom. That would be great in a championship match. Um, I know I know to be good. There's history there. There's a lot of momentum behind Swerve, so I think this is the time for him. Um, we'll see how long. I don't see Swerve as having the same length of championship reign as MJF had, but I think it'd be at least significant. And I just wanted to bring up, and you reminded me, and I was just wanted to get your take, Adam. I did see it again. Again, I guess you can, if it's on the internet, I should believe it. Um, but I saw that someone had said, "Oh, that AEW has taken down any merchandise to do with MJF, right? And removing everything from the website." And now again, is this all part of a work? It completely could be. They might be using it to their advantage because it's WrestleMania weekend, and of course, people, oh my God, it's down, and WrestleMania could he make his appearance? Blah blah blah, right? So it's a great way to just create buzz out of nothing for no reason. I don't know. Did you see that? Did you hear anything about that?
So here's my thought on that, and then I'm going to actually answer some of these comments. But report says he was actually in Boston for that episode of Mercedes' debut, and he actually talked to officials backstage, and he might have quietly re-signed. I can see this as kind of a swerve, no pun intended, for our conversation going on.
Nice.
But this could be a swerve, like they did with him, basically quitting and calling Tony Khan a mark, and he left, and then he returns in the devil mask and wins at that pay-per-view and all that stuff, and they make no mention of him. So this could be a thing of, well, everything's removed. They're just trying to make it look like he doesn't work for them anymore, but he technically might still do. So I kind of just not believe a lot of what the reports say, especially like websites like Sportskeeda. I can barely trust them at all. Anything Dave Meltzer says is just. And then there's another guy too. I keep forgetting his name. I'm sure I'll come to me, but another person that writes faulty reports I don't always believe. But going back to what I was saying with Swerve, I know a lot of people are saying, Davis here talking about, it just makes no sense that Page, was trying to prevent him to win, and he just wins it like that. Well, here's my thought on it, Davis. What if Swerve wins and is celebrating? Page attacks him from behind, and as Page attacks him, the Young Bucks come out and yell at Page saying, "You're suspended. Why are you here? Like, we suspended you. Blah blah blah." But then they all hug it out, and it was a ruse to get Page back into the heel stable of the Young Bucks and Okada. I mean, the Young Bucks are sly; they can do that. So maybe they do that. So now you got Hangman back with the Elite. And then, from there you can go so many stories. And to touch on this too, Davis, Swerve win, completely ignore what happened at Revolution. Yeah, that's right. Costed Swerve again and then wins it just like that. Yes. So it goes back to it. It's like, yeah, what if it's a shock win? But even though Page is attacking him, you still get Joe to say, "I want my rematch." Because even though the rankings are back, in professional wrestling, there's always that rematch clause in every
Mhm.
professional wrestling promotion where
Right.
it's like, hey, the person who was just champion wants their rematch back. You see it all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, how many times did we see, like we say, it's Rock, Stone Cold. How many times did we see them trade the title back and get rematches? How many times did we see Triple H and Randy Orton during their feud going back and forth with the WWE title? And And it would be funny because it's like, yeah, it's crazy to think like, yeah, but Swerve just wins it out of thin air. It's like, well, no, it's that fire, getting the fire where it's hot, and you could still keep Joe involved in that title picture. Joe can win the title again, just give Swerve that moment of winning the title. I'm not saying like, I mean, for me personally, I'd like to see Swerve have a long title reign, but not like an MJF linked title reign.
Mm.
But I don't also want to see him as a transitional champion. And with Joe, I don't feel at a certain point in the title reign that it's transition. Like transition to me is like 2 months as a champ, and then the title's off of you. Joe's held the title for about 5 months. That's a solid reign.
Is that
yeah, it's December. Yeah, December. It's now April. So because he won it at World's End in December. So yeah, you look at it. That's
4 months. You're coming on 4 months.
Yeah, it's about 4.5, 5 months, but that's still over 100 days. So it's like anything like over 100 days, to me, is not transitional. Anything below 50, that's transitional. That to me, in my eyes, as a pro wrestling fan. So if it's under 50 days, you're a transitional champion. Hell, if it's 2 weeks, you're a transitional champion. Sorry, you are. Someone like Jinder Mahal, he was a transitional champion. That's what it was. But someone like Joe has held it. He could be a 2-time. He can get that title back. I keep talking about a big pay-per-view match, and you talk about a big pay-per-view match for the biggest pay-per-view of the year now being in London again at All In. Think about the main event there: Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page versus Adam Cole, MJF in a 5-man challenge match for the AEW World Title.
Or
it would be an insane, because who would you? I mean, for example, I know you're saying for a 6-pack challenge, but a 5-man would be perfect. It's almost like the ladder match for the chip. When Hangman returned that one time, and there was 5 people in that match. I believe it was 5 people in that match. Because it was Archer, it was Orange Cassidy, it was Pac, someone else, and then Page. It was only 5 people in that match. So you could have that at All In. You could have these 5 men battle for the world title.
You know what? As you're saying that, what kind of popped into my head is, let's just say if Swerve wins, I think the Don Callis family comes back in the picture, especially since they just had Takeshita. Now, I think that could lead up, and if they don't do anything and kind of keep Will Ospreay as part of the family, and he's part, I think there's the family gets involved. I can actually see it could even be Will Ospreay versus fucking Swerve for the championship at All In London. Like, I think again, you put in the big names. There's 2 big names, and I think they're hot. I think that'd be a great match. To have, I think they'd have a great match, especially if you threw a stipulation in there. But I don't think with those guys, you don't even have to. You're going to see some crazy ass moves. I think they would really complement each other well. I think it'd be a very competitive, very high flying, and very interesting match. So I could see it. I mean, the way they're hyping in Ospreay, why wouldn't he kind of move up the ladder, quicker? I know it's, records, right? But I think they can do that. But if they have him wrestling more often on TV, that'll increase his record pretty quickly. That way he gets up there, and all of a sudden he's, 5-0, just like that. He's going to be, if he beats Hobbs, that's 3-0, right? I don't think, has he fought? No, he fights Shibata too, right? Right.
Yeah, so he's beaten Kyle Fletcher. He's beaten Shibata. He's beaten Takeshita. Yeah, so Hobbs would be 4. And if he wins at Dynasty, that would be 5.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Ospreay is going to beat Danielson. So if that's a 5-0 record, that would almost take him to put him in contendership, throw in another match going up. So he's 6-0 or 7-0. Boom, all of a sudden he's right at the top of that list, and it makes sense for him to be in that picture. If Swerve is the champion, to have that come to fruition at All Out. or All In? Is it All In or All Out? I can't.
It's All In. All Out will be in Chicago again.
Okay, so All In. So I don't know. Do you see? Could you see that making sense?
I mean, I do see. So here's my thing. I do believe Ospreay wins the world title at the end of the year. I highly believe that because there's no way you bring that guy in and give him a mid card title. No matter, even though he'll probably freaking elevate the hell out of that mid card title because it's Will Ospreay. But you've got to get that guy the world title. I mean, it's something you have to do. The guy can do it all. Mm-hmm. And he's one of those guys that is one of this generational talents, that can put on a match with anybody. I mean, we saw that at All In last year with Chris Jericho, who had no business being in the ring with someone like Will Ospreay, but I do believe Swerve does deserve a little bit of a run with the world title. Like I said, that's why you can involve all these people into this world title picture, like an Adam Cole. Davis just said in the comments, he should be cleared any time soon. So, of course, he's going for the world title. And I kind of see that. I can see Swerve win the title and hold it until All In. And then, have all these title defenses against these guys. Have a title against maybe another triple threat between him, Joe, and Hangman. But you get this in. I do believe you need a big main event for All In. Mm-hmm. And the biggest main event would have all these guys sub, Ospreay and Cole being former world champions and a current. So, like I said, even when Cole's healed and, like you said, Ospreay, if he's added, then he can be the sixth man that main event and have a 6-man, world title match at All In. Just it'd be insane because now you got Joe, Swerve, Cole, Page, MJF returns, and Ospreay in a ring together. That's a main event. That's a 6-pack challenge WWF main event.
Yeah,
that's Armageddon Hell in a Cell 2000 main event. That is 6 superstars and there's 6 wrestlers that are very talented, that can put on a match and they can shine. That's a 30-minute match that can go any way. That's just my opinion. And if you want to sell tickets for that pay-per-view, if you want to outdo, because it all comes down to that. It all comes about selling out a pay-per-view right now to make revenue, to keep your product going. And if Tony Khan wants to do that, is it overbooking? Sure. But is it going to sell tickets to that show? You're damn right it's going to sell tickets to that show.
I think it'd be a great match, and I totally get your point in having a match with some of these big names and having like a 5 or 6-pack challenge. In that case, it kind of just, I think if you're going to spread the talent a little bit and just say if Ospreay isn't in the title picture there, I would think a great match would be Okada and Ospreay for the Continental Championship. I think that would also make sense as well, and to put the belt. So if you're going to start and have them take the belt off, if anyone's going to take the belt of Okada, I think it makes sense because you've got that continental, the international type of feel. Ospreay's already come, even though he's British. He's spent a lot of time over there in Japan, so it makes sense when you've got some of the international guys to win in the continental title. To me, anyways, it kind of feels that way. Like a Pac, I can see like a Pac having that title. It just feels it has an international feel to me. I guess because it was the international title, right? That was what it's called originally. So I don't know. I think that could be. I mean, God, like I said, we could sit here for 5 hours and talk about dream matches. We could put together on just think bang bang on the back of our hands, which is great. I mean, that's the beauty of being a wrestling fan right now. I know we talked about the golden age and we grew up and we love our 80s wrestling, and nothing beats that era. And we were in a different era too. We were in a different mindset. You're kids, it was larger than life, right? Part of the 90s, we got the Attitude Era, which we saw some of the biggest names, The Rock, Stone Cold, guys going like Undertaker, right? We were spoiled there as well. But I think we are also at a spoiled spot right now in professional wrestling. It's a hype, our access to it. We can watch, like I said earlier, if you want to find something, you can find it. right? Which is great, and just because of the amount of it, there's more of the training facilities, more opportunities. So I think this is a great time to be a wrestling fan. And I know we're running out of time here, Adam, and I just wanted to get your quick comment. We'd be remiss if we didn't even mention, the Super Bowl of the wrestling world, with WrestleMania coming up this weekend. Are you going to be tuning in? Are you going to be watching either
Yeah,
night or
I'll
both nights?
try. If depending on how much time I can get to watch it, I might have to follow it on my phone. Yeah, it's a big thing. Anybody who hasn't seen them yet, it's a long time. It's a long couple of weeks that I did it, but on my talking lead, I did the complete history of WrestleManias.
That's
So
amazing.
had people on every week. We talked about all the different WrestleManias. There's these 5 WrestleManias per episode, so we can kind of get them done. And we got them done last Thursday before this week. So last Thursday was our last week of covering WrestleManias 36 through 39. So yeah, no, it's a big event. It's probably one of the biggest pro wrestling events in the history of the sport, as well as sports entertainment. And so I think a lot of people are going to be tuning in just story wise.
Hmm.
The Obviously the last 2 years of Cody Rhodes versus the Bloodline, and now you've got the return of CM Punk, not even wrestling, but he's just back in WWE, but he's going to be involved at WrestleMania some way, somehow.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to think. I'm actually agreeing with Corin in the comments here that, it is crazy how hot WWE is right now, and it's crazy to think that people are saying, AEW is in trouble. I don't think AEW is in trouble. TNA wasn't in trouble. It would financially, sure, but guess what? They're still around. They're still doing shows. TNA has not gone away, and it has been 20 years. About 20 years of TNA, and they're still here. So people saying AEW, like, yeah, they're brand new, but they're not going away. There's good competition now. There's more options. Yeah, people are tuned back to WWE. Fine. That if that's what you want to watch, that's what you want to watch. If you want to watch AEW, watch AEW. Just be happy with the product that you're watching. It's your taste. And so I think this weekend coming up with WrestleMania, it's going to be a big WrestleMania. I think there's going to be a lot of change in guard at WrestleMania this weekend. I think you're going to see a lot of surprises at WrestleMania this weekend. I think you're going to see a lot of surprise wins at WrestleMania. I think you're going to see some antics at WrestleMania. But I think the biggest thing is the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are always fun to watch. But yeah, no, I will try to be following it this weekend. But again, I'm AEW. I do enjoy AEW. I marked out on Saturday when we talked about when Cardona came in and challenged Copeland. I was marking. I was like, yes. I mean, I think I messaged all you guys in the group, so going, oh my god, the indie darling is here. Like, I was so happy. I love Matt Cardona. And yeah, John, I'm going to agree with you. Bo Dallas on Raw after Mania could be. I haven't watched it yet, but people were saying that documentary on Bray Wyatt was really good, so I'm going to try to watch it this week.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm in about. I started watching it last night. I'm in about 45 minutes. They are really setting this up for Bo. Wrestling fans love this behind the scenes stuff. They love the stories. They love, it's like a heartbreak story, but a love story and just innovative story. And I don't know if you've been watching the production that they've been doing on the Dalmier or something like that. What is he calling him now himself?
So here's a funny thing. Someone is saying that that's not Bo Dallas's channel. There's a rumor going around saying it's just someone else. It's not Bo Dallas. But it's weird because I'm like, it seems very high production. And I do feel it's
but
Bo
it's him
Dallas,
narrating it though.
but it's him narrating it. So I'm like, how do you say it's not him if it's him talking over it? So
Or
there's a rumor going around saying that someone spread a rumor, or I don't know if it's true. Again, internet, you can believe the rumors or not, but someone's saying like it's not his channel.
But I think if you watch, they do a huge where they tell the biography, the importance of the Wyatt family. So if you think about it too, I mean, it could be that you've got Uncle Howdy, right? Where that was Bo Dallas. I guess that was the character there. So then they have this other character in this mask that they've been doing, and then they also mention Alexa Bliss again, right? So this could be the forming and of bringing that family back, a form of the Wyatt family in a different form, a little bit more a twisted family. So it could be, we don't really know what's going on. Like you said, if someone's like, that's not him, okay, maybe that's someone else that's going to be part of it, because that would make sense, especially if you watched again the documentary, the way they emphasize the importance of the family and how it blew up and people loved it. And I think they're really pushing Bo, and they're really, it's neat. We've never seen this much, talking about their dad, talking about the Rotunda, the Wyndham family, the history. Like, this is all the stuff I always thought, like, they never know about. And I didn't realize that, they were they tagged together when they first were in FTW. Mm-hmm. And they talk about his husky hairstyle.
Yeah.
Which he hated, obviously, and just having the magic. So yeah, so if anyone hasn't watched it, I'm going to finish watching it. So Adam, yeah, 100%. I think you would love it. I'm a huge Bray Wyatt fan. I always have been. So I found it really entertaining, just to see what a smart guy, intelligent, entertaining, just a great entertainer, and just having that type of ability to create the characters like a movie character, which is great. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. And well, maybe we can always bring it up next week. I'm sure we're going to be touching on some WrestleMania highlights and reviews, and then we can always chat about what you thought about the Bray Wyatt biography. But you know what? I think we're definitely coming past our time. Adam, it's been great to chat. It's we had a show, just the two of us, and we managed to fill it, and we still went overtime, which is great. We had great conversation. So I hope that you enjoyed as much as I did, and I hope the people, the viewers, enjoyed it as well. And we always enjoy the comments. So thanks very much for anyone who tuned in and provided some comments. We really love the feedback. So again, another week wrapped up. We got a big weekend coming up. I'm sure we'll be touching on a lot of stuff next week. I'll tune in as much as I can as well. I mean, I don't know if I have 36 hours to watch wrestling over 2 days, but we'll see what we can do, and it'll be fun. And we're in a fun time of wrestling, and it's nice to be a fan. So, Adam, have a great weekend and a great weekend.
Yeah.
And enjoy the rest of the wrestling for the rest of the week. And we'll talk next week.
Absolutely. And everybody in the comments, thank you. Everybody watching, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you guys like, share videos. Follow us on all social media. Instagram, I believe we have now. We have TikTok. We've got YouTube. We've got Twitch. Make sure you guys check out our interviews. We do live reactions every week. So we're gearing up for an interview here soon. So stay tuned for that. And thank you guys for joining us here on Tuesdays. We really enjoy it and love having these conversations with Matt. So
perfect. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Adam.
Good night, guys.
Take care.